It's New Year's, and even though he's not as close as near death as he was on Christmas, but he
and you know
is,
what else? That's sort of a disappointment for you, isn't it?
And
it's a real disappointment for this.
And
this
since he
woman
called
over
me
here.
a turnip lady,
well,
I
you were
decided
dressed
to-
like a turnip, for crying out loud.
I know, and I decided to improve my wardrobe, so now I'm wearing
I
gold.
like my hat, folks.
Gold. I'm not going to be called a turnip lady on New Year's. And I'm wearing gold and wine. That's beautiful.
I know it's
combination.
It really is. And you know something else that she won't tell you that I know?
What's that?
She has a thong that matches that. And she won't show you. Well, I'm sorry, but somebody has to say it.
I don't know.
This woman is color coordinated.
She's
not the only person I know that will not.
In as bad a shape as he was on Christmas, but he is still in pretty bad shape.
Well, that New Year's Eve guy didn't show up last night either. As a matter of fact, all I heard was at midnight, some guy's out there banging on his pots and pans or whatever. Lasted about 2 minutes. And that was it. You know, I heard a few pops.
Was that your New Year's down this way? Oh.
Well, that was in patio, some, you know.
Oh, they banged some pots and pans,
yes,
announcing the new year.
Yep, and then that was it.
Well, that's nice.
So it was.
And
it's just
I think
fantastic.
one reason why he's in better shape is because we're both full of chicken. He had a wonderful idea to take a cab to Kentucky Fried Chicken for New Year's Eve. I was just going to go across the street and maybe get some wings, but no, we went to Kentucky Fried Chicken in a taxi and got a huge bucket of chicken, which some of it is still in the fridge. So we're going to be full of chicken.
You want to tell them why I did it?
Oh, why don't you tell them? I don't know if I could explain it.
Well, I had a special deal here on old folks. You can buy $20 worth of coupons for a taxi for $6. And I had $40 worth of coupons. They only cost me $12. And then 12/31 was the cutoff date. So if I didn't spend them yesterday, I'd have lost $12, folks. I mean, my God, that hurts. Now, see, the taxi cab driver made out like a burglar because I gave him the $40 and the bill was only like $17.95. Now, if this man had a happy New Year, believe me, you know, that's a hell of a tip. But that's the reason. You think I'd actually go out of my way to take this woman in the taxi cab if it wasn't a dire need?
Think of that. Think of that. This taxi cab happened to run into this old coot who hadn't spent his $40 worth of taxi coupons all year. How long have you had those? And he kept saying, it's getting closer
I had them up until yesterday.
I'm going to lose my $40 if I don't go in a taxi somewhere. He tried to get me to go in a taxi to Target or somewhere, and I said, no, I am not going to Target in a taxi. Forget that. But instead we went to Kentucky Fried Chicken. So instead of getting full of, you know what, we're full of chicken. And, well, I don't know whether that's better for me or not, but I tried not to get carried away.
You learned half a word.
What?
The first half is chicken. We all know what the last half is, don't we?
So anyway, we're here to greet the new year in scintillating dialogue together. I just don't know. feel too scintillating. I don't know.
Can I look that word up? Because I'm pretty sure I'm not scintillated, but I never know, you know.
Scintillating dialogue. Have you ever known two old people that are just so full of...
They were back to the chicken part again, right?
So full of wit and repartee on...
Repartee?
When they get in front of a camera, they just start...
No, I'm like that. I'm like that all the time. You know, it's like Red Skelton said when he was very young, and everybody probably, you know, he's dead, but he said, you know, if I didn't make a lot of money, they'd have put me away years ago. Which is true, but you know, if you take life too seriously, you know what I'm going to do this year, my New Year's resolution?
What?
I'm going to get my eyes fixed.
He's going to get his eyes fixed, which means he has to get cataract surgery. And I did consult the surgeon, my surgeon that did mine this year, and I said, could you operate on an alcohol, I mean, do I have to say that word on New Year's? Could you operate on a man who drinks a little too much? He said, well, it depends on how much he drinks. Could he stop for, maybe he needs to stop for 6 months. And I said, that's the point.
6 months? I don't believe
no,
he
6
said
weeks,
that.
6 weeks.
How about 6 hours?
Yeah, and that, I thought, that's the point. He can never stop. So can you operate on him without killing him? He said, well, it would be highly risky. We'd have to take some precautions, and I don't even know what they are. And I told him, and that seemed to scare him, so he's given up on. He's going to just let his cataracts just grow until they're drooping off his eyes.
Not drinking for 6 months. Now that scares the bejesus out of me. I don't mind cataract surgery.
Aren't you going to let your cataracts just droop off your eyes because you won't get them fixed?
Makes everybody look better.
Yeah. And they'll take him, they say, it's too late. You're going blind. You didn't, you know. And I told him, you've got to get those cataracts off there. And, but do you think he'll save his eyes? No, he can't stop.
I want you folks to take a long
to
look
save
at this,
his eyes.
This is what's left of my beard. I had to buy one of those hair clippers just to shave this sucker down to here, so now I can shave it this morning. And you know what? She never even noticed. Your beard's gone? It didn't look like to me.
I didn't notice that. I don't.
She's had her eyes fixed and she doesn't. No, she walks in.
I don't pay a lot of attention to him.
Fixes breakfast, uses my computer, and then won't flush the toilet.
Bye. Bye.
Nice to see you
again. That's another thing. I decided to save water. So I said, look, I do not. When I go to the bathroom, there's not very much. So why flush it every single time? And you know, he's a nervous Norvis. I didn't hear it flush. I said,
Norvis, where do you come up with
these things? A little bit later, I said, I'll have to go again. So couldn't you just let 2 or 3 times pass with a little bit of my liquid in the toilet? Just let it. Can you stand that? Can you stand to let it
Well, see,
stay in
you
there?
obviously have some kind of a deal on your lease here that says if you don't flush every time, we will give you 20 cents back for every not flush. The way I look at it is it's not in my lease. I can flush my little heart out and they don't charge me for it. So I just
nervous, even if, you know, I just do a little tinkle.
Where do you come up with these things from?
So I should waste gallons of water
quit drinking
just to take that little tinkle out. Now that's just nothing but nervous. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
But could you think that he could leave that little tinkle in his toilet without worrying and fretting and stewing about it? Oh,
I have not.
I didn't hear that.
Since I was a young
toilet
child.
flush.
Since I was past 6 years old.
Never,
my mother
ever
said, well, you got to tinkle in the
flush
toilet.
the toilet.
I have never tinkled in the toilet anymore. By the time I was
This
8,
is
I
the
was,
modern
I was
world.
actually pissing in the
This
toilet.
is
I wasn't tinkling anymore. I was there for some serious work.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when you're old and, you know, when your water pills, you don't tinkle that much. So, why flush every time?
I don't know.
Why flush every time? So, I've taken it out flushing every time, and it just worries him silly.
No, it doesn't worry me silly.
Well, why do you say, I didn't hear any noise in there after you were through? And I'm just
you
trying.
You could be going in there and just looking at yourself in the mirror, trimming your eyes or whatever you're playing with.
I am trying to change. I'm trying to, you know, think out of the box. You know, that's what you need to do. Think out of the box. Don't flush every single time. Now, think of other ways. Now, that was my point of when we came down here to have this conversation, that we would, he and I would bring some new insights to the world. To the world.
Now, wait a minute.
Or what's the point of listening to us?
No, seriously
Who's
now.
going to listen to two
wait
people?
a minute. If you know, if people who live in the same apartment, and we don't. We fortunately we live in the same building, but not the same apartment.
So I can run my
now, if I walk in there and I look in there and there's
toilet paper. Oh my God, toilet paper's in there.
Yeah, but there could be other things floating in there besides toilet paper. You know, like.
See, my new policy is positive. But anyway, I thought that there would be other things that we could bring to the world.
Listen, I've raised children. I've raised a lot of children, you know, and you come back and go to the bathroom and you go, who was the last one in here?
Oh my God, there's just
would you please flush the toilet?
We don't have any little toddlers running around.
Well,
so for heaven's sake. No. So
we're in our second childhood.
I hope you've taken something from this little, these suggestions about toilet use when you're older. You're gonna let up, you know. You don't have to flush after every single little tinkle.
Okay, now let's go back to what happened this morning, okay?
No.
Here's what we go back to this morning.
We don't have to stay on this subject forever.
We're off this subject.
Where is it
Where did you go to get a newspaper this morning?
Oh, yes, I went to Circle K.
Which is about, 300 feet from here.
Yes. And guess what? I brought back the wrong paper.
What did you bring back?
USA instead of Arizona Republic. I didn't notice.
We got a double whammy today.
He said, what is that paper you brought back? I said, I don't know. I brought the paper back. He showed it to me, said, this is the wrong paper. We don't ever get the USA. Well, guess what? It turned out to be a more interesting paper than the Arizona Republic this morning. So this goes to show you, you should make some mistakes every now and then and get the wrong paper. You might look into another world and it would be better, because the Arizona Republic is getting pretty thin. I can read the paper now in about 2 minutes flat. $1, that's it. So it didn't take me much longer to read it this morning.
So I had to go back over and
he went back over and got the real paper that we read every morning.
No, I have two papers.
Which only took me, it didn't take me 2 minutes to read. Do you think we should keep on buying the paper? Now there's a big decision.
Wait a minute, the last time we were on here, you said you were going to go 50-50. 50 cents an hour.
I don't even think it's worth 50 cents for, what little bit. As fast as I'm reading, we're going to have to think about this, whether we really want a paper that costs $1 and only takes us about few seconds to read.
How come you keep saying
it takes us?
I don't read the newspaper while
he don't even read it.
I do.
He reads the ads, right? What do you?
Yes. I might look at the comics. The comics aren't even funny anymore. I can get all that on the computer. I spend over $60 a month on computer. I can see all that crap I want to see.
And why don't I
Don't
read?
get me started on cable.
Why don't
TV.
I read? Because there's just not anything too interesting in there. And what do I think is interesting?
Yeah, I'd like to hear that from myself. This ought to be a
I'll
tip.
tell you what. What is interesting? What would be interesting to me in the paper? The editorial page. I go right to the editorial page.
Oh, come on, you go to A&E.
No. I go to the editorial page first because I want to see what they think. I want to see what they're thinking. And there's not very much evidence on the editorial page that anybody is thinking.
That you have sent in 143
anybody's
to
thinking.
the editorial page, and they have rejected every one.
Yeah.
I told you to start using an alias or something. They say your name on it.
I had this feeling to just say, oh, there's that old bat again. Throw that paper, that letter over there. And so that just made me all more determined to bring some new insights to you today. They should be in your paper, but are not. So what is that? What should be in the paper that would be enthralling, that would be fascinating, that would be very, very interesting, that you could read?
That's what I want to
Get back. Oh, he's gone to get his beer. Don't refresh his cup. Don't worry. He's just gone over there to refresh his cup. And it's up to me to think.
What do they call it? Refresh. What do you mean? Fill it back up again?
What I think of my job to do as an older person is think. Because younger people, they're always saying, I can't afford to think. My job doesn't call for thinking. Or it just calls for a little tiny bit of thinking. So I can't be thinking. That's not necessary. Because my job doesn't require it. And people can get in, so when we're old now, we've retired, we have no job that restricts our thinking, so
you have a job.
We're free to think. You
have a job.
Well, my job is to dispense to the world some good thinking that we're free to do now. See, young people, they have to work all day long, maybe at some job where just a tiny little bit of thinking is required, or the same thinking over and over and over again. And
well, you want fries with that ain't exactly a really mental position, is it? You want fries with that?
No, most everybody is not free to think. Whatever they're doing when they're younger, they're not free to think. But now we're free to think. We don't have any little kids we got to get up in the night and take care of. We don't have, so we can think all night long. I often do. I think all night long.
I think that after it gets dark, I'm going to go to sleep.
Well, he doesn't think because
what?
He takes too much medication.
That's why I don't have to think. I want to drink, right? I don't want to think. I want to drink.
This is what old people are worth. That's why they're worth something. They had the freedom to think all night long. And who does that? Because the other people have to get up and go to work. They have to get their kids. They have to take care of their kids. They didn't afford the luxury of thinking all night.
This gives me one of the really lovely lead-ins that you always give me. You are one of the biggest thinkers out there.
No, biggest.
As a matter of fact, you think all over the place. As a matter of fact, when you come to my apartment, I go, oh God, there's that thinker. Woo, does she think or what? Oh, crap, she's thinking all over the place.
He has to admit that I do a lot of thinking. He never knows,
That's why I keep telling you, please flush the toilet when you're done thinking in there.
I thought about that, but listen, let's leave that subject and go on to bigger things. I think about the country. I think about the president, what the president ought to do. I think about, there's nothing I don't think about because I have the time. I have the time to think. I live by myself. I don't have anybody disturb me. There's so many, I don't have to make a living. I couldn't make a living if I had to.
What about your neighbors going
so
thumpy,
I'm just
thumpy,
getting,
thumpy, thumpy,
no, I don't pay attention to that. So I have such great freedom to think all night long. And then I'm blogging.
And you folks wonder why it scares me when she comes thinking things.
And I'm going to do my memoirs. I mean, you have never seen such activity of the mind going on here. And I can't say that his activity of the mind is as, is quite as intense as mine. I'm trying to get him to give up the beer and all that sort of thing and do his thinking that he's capable of doing.
I hear cigarettes cut about I'm going to start smoking because...
He doesn't smoke, so if all he's got to do is give up the booze, and we can see some brilliant stuff coming out of this mind. I'm going to try to get him to give all those things up that are presently stopping him from being the great thinker that he could be. His high IQ, if that IQ could kick in as it's normally meant to do, kick in.
It would like to
believe me.
I got kick in.
Some thinking would come out of this mind that it'd be unbelievable. And for some reason or other, he's reluctant to cast aside.
And you know what you're trying to do?
Cast aside his...
You are trying to prove to me...
Then he can match my thinking. He would be a worthy partner.
All of your unworthiness.
I'm not unworthy. You're the one that's unworthy.
2 days in a row she's doing the dishes. She hasn't done dishes around here in months. That kind of gives you a clue that she wants to hang around my apartment a little more,
Oh, yeah.
I buy some Kentucky Fried Chicken, and the next thing I know, she's in there doing the dishes.
But all of this is all designed to get him to give up the booze so that this wonderful thinking that I know can come out of his brain can come. It won't be restricted. It won't be held back. It won't be... see, he's got some kind of fear. I think he's got some fear that if he unleashes his giant brain on the world, God only knows what he is afraid of himself. He's afraid of his brain. He found out quite many years ago that he did have an extraordinary brain. It was beyond what most people have. It frightened his mother and dad. It frightened all the wives that he was with. They were frightened.
Kids weren't too keen about it either,
Yeah, and
they weren't mine,
they encouraged him to stay in a stupor most of the time so that his giant brain wouldn't get active. Everybody was just terrified of his giant brain.
Dad, you're starting to think. Mom, give him a beer. For God's sake, he's thinking.
Yeah, he's sobering up. Let's keep him.
Oh, we got to either tie him down or give him a beer. Which is it? I will just give him a beer.
Well, that was me.
And then we'll tie him down.
That was me, and I read all these books, and they say, take those books away from that child. For God's sakes, don't let her read. She gets ideas. She starts thinking. And, they was try to think. My mother and dad were so restricted.